Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, guys. It is Thursday. Let me just come right over to the charts really quickly here because we do have some news coming up. The treasuries have not moved too much from where they were yesterday, and we've had a little bit of a further drop in the S&P 500. Now, I'm not going to go into the other ones because we do have a bunch of news coming up here in about a minute. U.S. GDP quarter-over-quarter advance estimate is 4.5%. And U.S. initial jobless claims estimate is 207. So we'll see what the market does here. You can see that the liquidity has completely pulled. And let's just note that the treasuries still seem to be very vulnerable to bearish sentiments. Okay, here we go. The treasuries are moving down here. U.S. GDP quarter advance is 4.9%. Yeah, the treasuries are not going to like that. Initial jobless claims slightly higher than expected at 210 versus 207. And GDP price index is 3.5% versus 1.7. Okay, so after moving down, the treasuries are now taking a pretty strong bull run against that. Very interesting. Well, this is a little too wild for me to be touching. I'm getting a couple of audio dropouts, so I'm just going to reset my audio engine here real quick. That. When it came back to the open, I was like, well, I'm not prepared, but I think that I should be going short this, but it's bouncing back really hard. What is with that? Durable goods, spot 5 versus spot 2. GDP price index 3.5 versus 1.7. Durable goods 4.7 versus 1.8. Initial jobless claims 210 versus 207. Quarter over quarter advanced GDP 4.9 versus 4.5. Why is that good? Why is that causing buying in the treasuries? There's got to be a piece of information under the surface. I'm not sure I understand what could drive flows like that. I suppose there could be other headlines. Seeing jobless claims slightly higher than anticipated is good, but I don't feel like it just cancels out the GDP news, right? Dollar seems to be taking a hit, though. Okay, while we're letting that go, I'm going to do a little bit of browsing around here because I want to know what is going on with the Maine shooting. It appears to me, from the information that I have, that there is still an active shooter situation in Maine. So I don't think that any of my viewers are in Maine, but if you are in Maine, please shelter in place until local authorities tell you that it is clear. Authorities have not put out a whole lot of information about the shooter, but the rumor mill on Reddit is that they did mention a name over the police scanner. People looked him up, and he is a former Army Reserve. He is a former Army Reserve shooting instructor. So this man is very deadly and still on the loose. You didn't get the weight. You don't live in Maine, do you, Lucas? Where's my spreadsheet? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you live in Argentina, Lucas. I'm surprised we're moving up. You didn't get the alert for the stream today. That's probably what he's saying. Yeah, I forgot to create the stream last night is what happened. I'm sorry. I guess I was just not on the ball last night. I mean, I was late here to the stream today, too. It's kind of wild considering, you know, how good I did yesterday. That trade yesterday was amazing, right? Like, you know, I think I did the right things given my time constraints and everything. But I did kind of feel like, hey, this is one that could probably continue. And it did. It went all day, and it you know, rates really rose. It's pretty wild. There's got to be some short covering in this thing, though. I mean, look at the wild movement that we're getting on the upside. I'm not 100% sure what's driving the long flow, though. Obviously, it's the news, but I'm not sure what it is about the news that they're reading that makes this a buy. Do you feel more people show up when you do really good or when you do really bad? I think that the numbers for the stream are remarkably consistent, but there does appear to be slightly more people that watch when I'm doing poorly. Yes. But I think that what happens is that there's one or two people that are actually hate watching me, and when I'm doing bad, they go to, you know, other places and say, hey, look, Seth's in a bad loser, let's watch him. I think that because it's not crazy more when I'm losing. But they did, the 5 and 10 year filled the gap from basically, well, I wouldn't say that that is where Bill Ackman covered on Monday. I think when you see something like that, it's safe to say that the person talking about it had covered their position like the day before. So like if we come back over onto our charts, right? So we'll also, I mean, I want to cover this because it kind of tells you a little bit about how these guys function, right? So this was when he was on the news and he said that he had covered. So it's safe to assume that he had done so before this and possibly on the Thursday and Friday before. Now, note that when he makes his move, it's going to move the market. I don't know if he's huge, but it is going to move the market. And you would prefer to be having really strong flows against you. So this area right here on Thursday in particular looks really, you know, let me try and highlight it here. That one looks like the best opportunity to have covered. So I think that may have been what happened. But yes, the move overall, people buying because Bill Ackman said that he had covered, and we so here's the single prints right there to 25, and then, you know, they went, but they basically they went all the way through. Of course, now with this news, we're getting a pretty strong buy the other direction. I'm still not quite sure what to make of this move, so I'm just going to stare in awe of it. But pretty much everything is up. Wheat, by the way, recovering quite a bit of the damage yesterday, up 1.1%. followed by copper, soybeans, silver, and then the bonds. ES is still down 0.5% overnight. Good GDP data? I mean, what define good? Good for who? Good, like the number was higher than anticipated. The economy is stronger than we thought. Yes. But good, like good for treasuries? Well, actually, that number should be bad for treasuries and bad for the S&P 500, but that doesn't seem to be how they're interpreting it. So I think that I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Yes, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. We have the ECB press conference coming up, don't we? And then you know how much I hate taking trades during the ECB press conference, so... Yeah, it seems to me like there must be something deeper in the data that I'm like missing, you know? So I'm just gonna wait. Let's put the ECB over here. We'll come over to Zero Hedge and see if they have anything. After 10 straight hikes, ECB pauses as expected and warns inflation is still expected to stay high. And they released that 15 minutes ago, so that's the other thing. I'm really, because all of those numbers are better than expected. So I would think that the Treasury should sell. And they did. The knee-jerk reaction was that they sold. But then there was initial jobless claims was 210 versus 207. Okay, so higher than expected. That is good. And it's an employment number, so that's also helps. Because, you know, the Federal Reserve does need employment to normalize. But 3K more than anticipated is like trivial. It's like the margin of error. So I don't think that I can explain that huge buying spree off of the initial jobless claims either. I think it's just weird. So can I tell you something else that's really effing weird? Is like if I come over to Zero Hedge, nothing about the Maine shooter. Let's start the other, you know, the place I go for my political news is usually over here on Hot Air. Nothing. I don't see anything here. Right? I'm gonna come to Reddit. Maybe it's on the Reddit front page. I mean, I saw threads about it everywhere when I went to bed last night. Guy is still at large. Nothing about it anywhere. Okay, Reddit seems to be having some issues right now. I bet you CNN says something about it. Yeah, top story, schools closed and Maine residents shelter in place as police search for mass shooting suspects. You know what that means, right? It means it was a straight white male. That's what it means. It's a straight white male. You can keep it in. The CNN is going to be all over that. But the conservatives are going to be like, oh, no, that's not. We don't want this story to get a lot of attention, so we're going to hold back on that. See if we can get Reddit to pull up here. Well, it's not up at the top. Dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. There you go. I want to participate in that thread right there, but no. They're gonna push for new highs again? Come on. I need to say, is the treasuries. I want to try and make a video about what happened yesterday. And I don't know, it wasn't quite working. I couldn't get it trimmed down to within a minute. But I was saying, you know what? You don't put enough. You don't talk enough about like who you're talking about. When I say, are they going to go for it? Like, who's they? Anybody that be watching that after the fact, they're not going to know. Like, I assume that people have too much context and need to use it. So the treasuries, 10-year treasury makes another new high by a tick right there. Well, I am not seeing. Oh, here we go. People say this shooting is fake. No. Seems like it's a real thing. TikTok cringe, huh? If I search for a shooter over the past 24 hours, I'll definitely get it. Yeah. r/Maine. One that's going off. Best we can do is come here and search by new. We are not able to provide better information or contextualize information than actual journalists. Okay, but like, not really getting anything from them either. Sounds like he did his shooting and then he went up into the mountains and they can't find him. Nothing. It's a little disconcerting to me how it's like this story has been completely scrubbed almost. CNN's talking about it. Okay. Okay, so it used to be starting here. I'm going to turn off my news squawk and turn on the live stream. Are they in a new place? Oh, they're at the Bank of Greece. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, he was. I think he was on their radar. My understanding is that he had been committed to a mental institution for 2 weeks for threatening to shoot up a military base. You gotta be careful when the music is playing over here because it's not always safe music. Most of the time they are. It does seem like most of the time they are, yes. Or rather, of the most recent incidents that we've had, this was a clearly deranged individual that had made threats before and just nobody did anything. No, I don't know about that. I've never seen any evidence that there's like agents nudging people to do stuff. That's just... You heard that news over in New Zealand? Okay, here are we going now.
To this historic building of the Bank of Greece. It is a great pleasure to have the President, the Vice President, and the Governing Council of the European Central Bank to this external
Try and keep the music going. I'll just turn it down a little bit.
It has been a rather long time, 15 years, since...
Well, okay, but why would you say something like that unless you had a reason to believe that that's what was happening?
Since then, President Lagarde, in her speech last night, mentioned the great Greek poet.
Don't you think it's more likely that there's just, out of millions of Americans that, 0.01% of them have a mental health issue that could cause them to go and shoot up a place, and occasionally it will happen, and that we should therefore implement measures to make sure that that particular person doesn't have a weapon?
What happened in the last 15 years is well known to all of us.
Really, the solution here is we need to bring back insane asylums. There are some people that just should not be on their own.
Is that We are all now wiser, stronger, closer to each other, better prepared.
Well, their person was on their radar, yes, but it seems to me that the way that the rules are set up right now, there's not a whole lot they can actually do.
Thank you very much, Governor Stonaris.
Does Maine have red flag laws?
On stage in Athens by President Lagarde and Vice President de Guindos. My name is Wolfgang Preußel.
And was his weapon obtained legally?
Online, if you ask questions, please turn on your camera and the microphone. And with that, I hand over.
You say they do? Let's see.
Thank you and good afternoon to all of you. The Vice President and I welcome...
According to WUSA 9, Maine does not have a red flag. Instead, it's a yellow flag or yellow paper law.
express our special
It's a process with more steps than the more assertive red flag laws in some states.
gratitude of the Governing Council. The Governing Council today decided...
A medical practitioner must first assess whether the person presents a likelihood of foreseeable harm. That almost certainly happened, right?
Information has broadly confirmed our previous assessment of the medium-term inflation outlook. Inflation is still expected to stay too high for too long, and domestic price pressures...
Here's the Treasury's coming up again.
At the same time, inflation dropped markedly in September, including due to strong base effects.
Yeah, maybe.
Inflation
Well, we can only speculate. I don't know if it really helps us too much to speculate about it, though.
interest rate increases continue to be transmitted forcefully into financing conditions. This is increasingly dampening demand and thereby helps push down inflation. We are determined to ensure that inflation returns to our 2% medium-term target in a timely manner. Based on our current assessment, we consider that the key ECB interest rates are at levels that, maintained for a sufficiently long duration, will make a substantial contribution to this goal. Our future decisions will ensure that our policy rates will be set at sufficiently restrictive levels for as long as necessary. We will continue to follow a data-dependent approach to determining the appropriate level and duration of restriction. In particular, our interest rate decisions will be based on our assessment of the inflation outlook in light of the incoming economic and financial data, the dynamics of underlying inflation, and the strength of monetary policy transmission. The decisions taken today are set out in a press release available on our website.
Okay, so I do have some new information. This is from Joey Manarino. The main shooter's name is Robert Card. He is National Guard, and the weapon is from the National Guard Unit Armory.
The euro area economy
He has been experiencing severe schizophrenia symptoms.
suggests that manufacturing output has
He has already had recent multiple violent threat contacts with police this year.
and tighter financing conditions are increasingly weighing on investment and consumer spending. The services sector
Not that I'm paying too close attention here, but Lagarde has
because weaker industrial
spoken about her view on the economy and everything. I don't hear anything too significant, but the treasuries are moving higher here again.
and the impact of higher interest rates is broadening. The economy is likely to remain weak for the remainder of
I hate to say it, but I believe that this Maine shooting will be a more significant
demand for euro area
event than the other shootings that we've seen in the last year or two.
over the coming years. Economic activity has so far been supported by the strength of the labor
I would be very surprised if we don't see national legislation based off of this.
low of 6.4% in August. At the same time, there are some
Not like taking away everybody's guns, but like
fewer new jobs are being created, including in
I think there would be something in
consistent
Congress.
with the cooling economy gradually
But let's see.
through to employment. As the energy crisis fades, governments should continue to roll back the related support measures. This is essential to avoid driving up medium-term inflationary pressures, which would otherwise call for even tighter monetary policy.
People on Twitter were saying that he was an Elon Musk fan.
Designed to make our economy more productive and to gradually bring down high public debt. Structural reforms and investments to enhance the euro area supply capacity.
I guess there could be an argument made that there was not any law that you could have put in place to have prevented this if it was like the National Guard specifically that made a mistake. But let's see.
The green and digital transition.
The party. Well, yeah. I don't believe the things that people are saying on Twitter about
should be concluded
the shooter.
this year.
That's never been reliable. Like the first day, people always just try and assume that he's connected to something that they hate or are concerned about.
Inflation dropped to 4.3% in September, almost a full percentage point lower
What happened?
than its August level.
A man went into both a shooting alley and a bar, I believe it was, and killed about 20 people, and he is still on the run. This was in Maine, where it's a pretty rural area.
Food price inflation slowed again, although it remains high by historical standards.
It's still going. Here's 106.
Prices fell by 4.6%.
The treasuries are still going, and they're about to touch 106.
Risen again and become less predictable in view of the new geopolitical tensions. Inflation, excluding energy and food, dropped to 4.5% in September from 5.3% in August.
At least it's not a school this time. Yeah.
Was supported by improving supply conditions, the pass-through of previous
You
declines.
see, this is exactly the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. So here's a guy on Twitter says the shooter is from Maine and drives a Subaru, so he's almost definitely a Democrat sleeper cell.
Goods and services inflation rates.
I don't think that we really know that.
1%.
What his ideology was.
7% respectively.
Haven't seen that confirmed.
Services inflation also
Haven't seen like any pictures or images of like what his YouTube or what his
in tourism
Facebook or his Twitter was. It appears that he has one, but I don't think that anybody has it.
continue to decline. At the same time,
Have they touched 106? There's been a lot of volume up here, though. Like, this move has been happening on quite a bit of volume, in fact.
measures of longer-term
Almost-
expectations mostly stand.
Almost 20,000 contracts.
Nonetheless, some indicators remain elevated and need to be monitored closely.
Yeah. So this guy gets it. Not that they usually... Well, I don't agree with him, but none of the anti-gun arguments work when the shooter is an army gun trainer and would have access to guns, even if civilians
Monetary
didn't.
policy turned out stronger than expected. A weaker world economy would also weigh on growth. Russia's unjustified war against Ukraine and the tragic conflict triggered by the terrorist attacks on Israel are key.
No, I literally think that people go on social media and tweet things that they know aren't true because they think that it will help them politically. I think that's literally what people do. And it's kind of disgusting to me.
Could be higher than expected if the still resilient labor market and rising real incomes mean that people and businesses become more confident and spend more.
But this one is going to be a really interesting conundrum to see people argue because, like,
Upside risk
How
to
it-
inflation could come.
how do you prevent him from getting guns? If he's still in the National Guard, that's the first thing. He probably should have been kicked out of the National Guard. But then the other thing is like the whole argument of like the best way to stop a bad guy with the gun is a good guy with the gun. Yeah, but if the bad guy with the gun is like an army instructor on the subject, I'm not too sure that there any amount of concealed carry permit holders are going to do anything, you know?
Above our target or higher than anticipated increases in wages or profit margins
Oh, we definitely have a meta order along.
higher, including over the medium.
I think, though, this one is because it's like a news-based move and you have a lot of people trading because of that, you've got to be careful about these because usually they are not multi-leg moves. Usually these ones are they go, they peak, they peter out, and they either retrace or they just settle into a range.
Looking at the financial and monetary conditions now. Longer-term
It has been buying since she started speaking.
since our last meeting, reflecting strong increases in other major economies. Our monetary policy continues to transmit strongly into broader financing conditions. Funding has become more expensive for banks, and interest rates for business loans and mortgages rose again in August to 5% and 3.9% respectively. Higher borrowing rates, with the associated cuts in investment plans and house purchases, led to a further sharp drop in credit demand in the third quarter, as reported in our latest...
I still say, I don't see how you can have an incident like this and not say we need to change the way that we are dealing with mental health in this country, man.
Banks are becoming more
There's been an obvious problem for
to take on risks.
multiple, and not just because of shootings. There's literally insane people out on the streets.
Have weakened.
And then we just send them into the streets. It's disgusting.
Rate of loans to firms has dropped sharply from 2.2% in July to 0.7% in...
And the whole reason that we got rid of insane asylums in the first place was
Loans to
faked.
firms
It was completely false.
with the growth rate slowing to 1% in August and 0.8% in September. Amid weak lending and the reduction in the Eurosystem balance...
Trying to cool the room down, so I have the window open, and all of the cold air is just floating immediately to the floor.
in August,
So my feet are cold, but the rest of the room isn't getting cool.
and still stood at minus 1.2% in September. So, in conclusion, the Governing Council today decided to keep the three key ECB interest rates unchanged.
There's somebody on Twitter posting a picture of him, but that doesn't look anything like the picture of that the police
Still
released.
expected to stay too high for too long, and domestic price pressures remain strong. At the same time, inflation dropped markedly in September, including due to strong base effects, and most measures of underlying inflation have continued to ease. Our past interest rate increases continue to be transmitted forcefully into financing conditions. This is increasingly dampening demand and thereby helps push down inflation. We are determined to ensure that inflation returns to our 2% medium-term target in a timely manner. Based on our current assessment,
The people on Twitter think that they found the guy. He has the right name. He looks like him.
will make a
He
substantial
does appear to be a right-winger.
return of inflation to our target. Our
I think they hold 106.
will ensure that the key ECB rates will be set
Impossible to know.
sufficiently
Impossible to know.
levels for as long as necessary.
Because one, I don't know what Christine is going to say here when they start the Q&A.
Continue to follow data
I don't know why they're buying here in the first place.
create level and duration of restriction.
And I don't know how many orders are going to come through there. I can only say that, like, to make a prediction that it is going to hold, it would probably be ill-advised.
Ensure that inflation returns to our medium
Because I mean, you're pointing out the thing, right? Like, anybody that uses technical analysis and looks at those things is going to notice that we went through 106 evens by like 2 ticks and almost immediately are coming back. And so we would view that as an area of resistance. But that's not the way that I look at markets. What I see is we've had a large meta order on the way up that has subsided, and the market is now falling back into the liquidity hole and trying to find the range.
Thank you
So
very much.
if there's another leg or there's another meta order long, they're going to bust through that.
Our appreciation for the extraordinary hospitality that the Greek National Bank, but also the Greek people that we have met here and there, have really deployed on the occasion of this visit. It has been a stellar organization and a tribute to the capacity of Greece in general to organize things and to make us feel welcome. So, Ekaristo. You ask me, I will start with your two last questions because in a way they are the most easy ones. Neither of these two questions, nor the PEP, nor the remuneration of required reserve, have been discussed at this meeting. You ask me about the current geopolitical environment and how that has weighed on our decision.
Reading the Twitter feed about the shooting situation in Maine is just so difficult for me because almost every post is people saying crazy things or quoting conspiracy theories.
As we see them unfold and develop. And of course, you have a special sentence in the MPS that refers specifically, in addition to the totally unjustified war of Russia against Ukraine, which refers to the tragic...
491 is about where I had taken my profits yesterday, right?
We are monitoring the situation. We are very attentive to the economic consequences that could have, whether in terms of direct or indirect impact on energy prices or the level of confidence that economic actors will continue to display. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question goes to Annette Weisbach of CNBC. Annette, please.
Thank you, Madame Lagarde. I have two questions. I think on many people's mind is the question, how long is actually sufficiently long, and what will make you rethink and perhaps cut rates at one point in time? Is it at 2% inflation? Is it at 2.5? Is it at 3? I think that is something the market is interested in. And then my second question goes on your comments about the yields, which are on the rise as well in the euro area, and you said from other jurisdictions or from other regions, you're probably referring to the United States. So are you concerned about that rise in yields as well, and also about the potential fragmentation here? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your three questions, if I counted right. So how long is sufficiently long? You know, obviously we refer to timely manner, sufficiently long. But in the same breath, I say we shall be data dependent. And at this point
I'm thinking about adding that one into Christine Laguarde's greatest hits, but I think I'll leave that one out.
Now is not the time for forward guidance. Now is the time to really stick to our data dependency knitting, if I may say. And we shall do so. We have acknowledged on the occasion of this meeting that our assessment is confirmed, the assessment that we had in September. All numbers, if anything, have reinforced our assessment of the situation. We have applied the three criteria that you all know well, the inflation outlook, duly informed by any information that we have, the underlying inflation in all its
It kind of looks like they are going to erase the move that we've had since she started speaking, but I'm still interested in why did they buy after the news release?
Your second question was essentially when and at what level do you cut? This was not discussed at all, and the debate would be absolutely premature. You know, we have acknowledged in our review of the macroeconomic situation back in September and yet again this time around, and we all know, and you know, that labor cost, wages, profit units, the analysis of that is critically important to determine the inflation outlook. And we will continue to accumulate data. On labor, for instance, we are going to have a wealth of numbers and data and intelligence when collective bargaining agreement and annual negotiations in 24 will be completed. That is way into 24. That's only a for instance. And, you know, even having a discussion on cut is totally premature. For the moment, what we're saying is we have to be steady.
So I'm just reading the Zero Hedge story about the GDP, and they're basically saying that there was an increase in consumption and that things like Barbie and the Oppenheimer movies, as well as Taylor Swift, probably played a role.
Which is not directly relevant to the fundamentals of the euro area economy, but which are tightening element nonetheless, because they directly impact on how long-term yields and long-term rates as well. So that definitely is a spillover that we take into account, and that is compounded with other elements that clearly are bringing inflation down.
Thank you, President Lagarde. And the next question goes to Alex Weber, Bloomberg News. Alex, please.
Really no explanation for the long flows, though.
That you're seeing strong transmission of your past rate increases to financing conditions. Can you say how much of the impact has yet to hit the real economy and then on inflation? And then secondly, a follow-up on energy costs. I'm trying to understand how you would react to another spike in energy costs for example, as a result of conflict in the Middle East. Would you take the recent inflation episode as a lesson and immediately react to that, or could you afford to wait for second round effects?
Thank you. Those are interesting questions. I'll start with your second one, which is essentially, have we learned anything from the last energy crisis, the impact it has on inflation directly and indirectly, and would we apply the same approach? This is work that is ongoing and that we will continue to do. But it's clear to us that it applies to a completely different economy today, and an economy which has had an episode of very high inflation, an economy where the interest rates is at a very high level of 4%, and an economy that has strong employment and which is weakening. So we have to take all these factors into account to see how possible higher cost of energy would actually affect both GDP and inflation. And it's in the context of that assessment that we would respond accordingly. But be under no doubt, our determination is intact, and our determination to bring inflation to 2% in the medium term is absolutely the same, if not reinforced by the proximity of the destination. Your first question was Oh, yeah, of course. So what we are seeing is a very strong transmission of our monetary policy in the banking sector in particular. And the financing of the economy as a result is directly affected, which in turn...
Cops got a call that he has a night scope too.
Dampening of demand.
Jeez.
And those numbers are really, you have seen the bank lending survey, I'm sure, and they are very striking in terms of both volume and rate transmission. We know that there is still more to come. So as is often the case with monetary policy, there is this transmission lag time. The assessment by our staff is that there is still more in the pipeline and more to come to affect the real economy. And the assumption is that it will continue to unfold throughout the end of 23 and first quarter of 24. Now, one might argue that it's going to last longer, but we have already seen a significant transmission to the financing conditions. More is to come. And if you look at, for instance, the housing sector, it's pretty obvious that there is transmission to the real economy. If you look at the volume of capital expenditure, of investment by corporates, there is a reduction. It's not just the banks telling us that they will be more attentive to the risk and that they are reducing their flow of credit. It's also the corporates that are putting a brake on their investment because of the level of interest rates. That clearly results from the various corporate telephone surveys that we conduct and from the bank lending survey as well. So both in the housing sector and in the investment numbers that we have, it is transmitting to the real economy.
Thank you. And the next question goes to Eleftheria Kortali of the Greek website Capital GR.
Hello. President Lagarde, I would like to ask you a question on spread widening. Have you at all discussed spread widening, and especially the case of Italy? Italian spreads are now above 200 basis points, and I was wondering if this is a level the ECB is comfortable with?
Why didn't you use tick levels on the MES, Dom?
Level
You mean, why do I have it
widening.
to every point instead of every quarter point?
Question is,
I don't actively trade ES, and it's just a lot easier for me to keep track of what's going on by aggregating it.
the ECB's normality. That
Yes, it moves
now
so wide these days that it becomes really hard to read.
every purchase program, when and if they are ever activated again. And are you confident that the Greek economy can return to normality? That is, where it was before the debt crisis, when it was rated A and A+ even. Thank you.
I remember when there used to be 500 contracts per tick in the ES when I started, and now there's like sometimes less than 100. It's just
Let me turn to Greece first and
too thin.
remind you that we
Yeah, it's a relatively new feature that Jigsaw added that allows you to
operate
aggregate ticks.
That's the reinvestments that we conduct under the PEP. Under APP, we don't do any reinvestment anymore, so there is no question as to which country is eligible or not eligible. So Greece was eligible to PEP under a special waiver that had been decided at the time. Well, the good news is that the waiver is irrelevant. Greece does not need any waiver. The Greek instruments are eligible to PEP without any exceptions. So that's point number one. Point number two, Greece is now back to
Yeah, I think that there are some settings that you can change, but basically, if I were to enter orders on this DOM, I would only enter at 1 point intervals.
was just pre-COVID. And if I can
It's been like this. Well, even before the pandemic, it was,
make an exception,
you know,
Greece compares extremely well.
some of it is just related to the S&P 500 increasing so much, because the times that I'm talking about are back when the ES was like in the 1000s.
And Greece has demonstrated phenomenal recovery capacity
Price is 4 times higher, you get 4 times the volatility,
level
because the S&P 500 really moves more on percentages.
normal. But I have to say that it's a stellar performance. Would you like to add to this? And
So the larger that the S&P 500 gets,
What if
the
an activity where
more points 1% will be.
the pre-COVID situation, the GDP growth is much higher than the average of the Eurozone. Spreads, they are within a range which we think it is quite normal. So all in all, it's a success story, as the President said in her press conference. But also, I do not deny that still there's a lot to be done until we get back to a rating of A+, as you said.
So on the first part of your intervention, let me remind you what we do. Our mission is price stability. We have defined it in our strategy review as 2%.
Is Jigsaw a single thread application or a multi-thread? That's a good question. But I'm not 100% sure.
To return inflation to 2% are
It's probably multi-threaded, but let's see here.
That the fact that we are holding doesn't mean to say that we will never hike again. Okay? So at this point in time, on the basis of the data that we have, we are confident that the rates at 4%, well, I should say, the three rates at the level they are contribute substantially to bringing us back to 2% in a timely manner. But we are data dependent. Second point is that in addition to our stance, we also have to make sure that there is proper transmission of our monetary policy throughout the whole euro area and to all countries in the euro area. And we have all the adequate tools in order to make sure that that happens.
Lucas says that Pete has addressed this and that it is multi.
Thank you, President Lagarde. And the next question goes to Martin Arnold of the Financial Times. Martin, please.
Thank you very much. President Lagarde, two questions from me. The first question is about central bank losses. So we've seen this week that the Riksbank, I know Sweden's not in the Eurozone, but the Riksbank has warned it will need 80 billion Swedish krona from the government to repair its balance sheet. Do you expect any Eurozone central banks to need similar kinds of capital injections? And the second one I'd like to ask is about PEP reinvestments. What's your view on the various calls we've heard from members of your governing council to say that those could be the end of those reinvestments?
I'm pretty sure there's a way to see this in the task manager, but I'm not finding it.
Thank you very much for your two questions. So on your first question, I will not go into the specifics of each and every national central banks because they are
I found it.
different situation. Some of them are publicly quoted institutions, others are not, and there is no one size fits all for the situation they're in. What I know is that as a
So my Ninja Trader is using 284 threads?
which is price stability. And we do not have
And where's Jigsaw in here?
to show profits or to cover losses. And it would be actually wrong if our decisions were guided by our P&L accounts rather than for pure monetary policy purposes in order to bring inflation back to 2% in the medium term. On your second point, as I said earlier, we have not discussed PEP on the occasion of this meeting.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next question goes to Silvia Berzoni of the Italian TV program Class CNBC. Silvia, please.
Good afternoon to all, President. Do you think that given the vigor of the monetary...
Yes, it does. 177 different threads. There you go.
Between Hamas
It is multi-threaded.
You just mentioned ECB economic forecast might be a little too optimistic. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for your question. I'm tempted to give you an appointment for our next monetary policy meeting because obviously in December we will have a range of...
Oh, okay. So Alligator in Discord is telling us that the Q3 GDP is well above expectations, but was 50 basis points less than the GDP now estimate. But this kind of correction is only temporary, should fade, in my opinion.
And if we look at PMI numbers, for instance, they are not indicative of a very vigorous growth.
Except for I don't want to fade during an ECB press conference.
Statement that growth continues to be weak.
Why do you want to learn assembly?
Goes to Eric Albert. Eric, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mrs. Lagarde. Just again, coming back on the bank lending survey, what you mentioned several times, the economy basically stagnates. I mean, is there a risk, are you worried that you've just been too far? Yes, the transmission will be slow, but you might have gone too far. And that's just one question, actually.
Yeah, it is one question.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, I can only repeat what we say, and we actually repeat in the monetary policy statement, which is that...
Is it just something that you want to do? Okay.
That the three.
I was going to say, there's not much use for assembly.
Sufficiently long period of time will actually make the contribution that is needed, the substantial contribution that is needed to return inflation to 2% in the medium term. And what we did on the occasion of this monetary policy meeting was to compare the September that we had in September.
Where do I start to learn x86 assembly for free?
Data that came in, including the inflation number, headline, and core inflation, including the bank lending survey, notably, and the various flash estimates and PMI numbers to confirm the assessment that we had previously. And let's not forget, our mission is to return inflation to 2%, to make sure that inflation does not cut into purchasing power of people.
There's one.
Question goes to Leonidas Exotzidis of Handelsblatt here. Leonidas, please.
Good afternoon, thank you. I would like to come back to the rising bond yields again, please. There is the point of view that the rise in the bond yields helps.
I mean, the reason that you would want to learn it could potentially matter as to what kind of education you would look for it.
There are also people arguing that it can become a risk for the financial stability.
So, for instance, assembly could be useful if you are cracking software, in which case you would want to go and find a course that is about hacking specifically and just includes assembly in it.
Because he's the real expert on this panel on financial stability. But I just want to, again, remind you of what I said about the right
to x86 assembly. Wow.
This is a movement that already...
Let's change my filters.
It is not directly related
to only the past year.
The euro area, and it is different, but we are facing the same circumstances that we.
There you go.
Back in March.
That's what you're looking for.
The various
right here.
Banks and Silicon Valley banks and Signature and First Republic collapses, where again there was spillover and the.
I don't know why you would want to crack Jigsaw, to be honest with you.
That clearly impact our own rates, and we take that into account.
How it works is pretty well understood, and
to release our.
You would,
The financial stability review, is
how it works is pretty well understood, and you could probably build your own platform from scratch more easily than it would be to crack it.
We have here in the euro area, and I would say that.
And I bet you that cracks already exist.
We are looking at very why, because the main risk that we have identified
could be wrong, but
it could continue being identified in the near future is very high valuations of different kind of assets.
I think we found a good page there.
You look at these valuations, not only financial assets, as the president indicated before, we refer as well to the real estate market. Well, the increasing yields can give rise to an important correction. So this is something that we are taking into consideration very closely. And simultaneously, other.
Which reminds me, I did get full access to ATAS.
Financial intermediaries.
So I don't know. I don't feel like today is really the best day to mess with that, but maybe tomorrow.
Risks or liquidity mismatches in terms of credit risk, and this kind of situations that we have an important and pervasive increase in yields can give rise to additional problems for this part of the financial system. That is not totally isolated from the rest of the financial system. It has important liaisons and links with the banks. So the increase in yields is something.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to talk over the conference too much.
And we will make a lot of comments with respect, in our financial stability review about the potential impact that this might have in terms of financial stability.
Yeah, I've tried Quant Tower. You'd have to go way back, but you can find the videos where I looked at it when it first came out, actually.
Thank you so much. Mrs. President, now that Greek bonds are eligible, as you said, would they be included in your APP portfolio? Should you pause QT and start reinvestments? That's for sure. And the second question, once upon a time, I would like to say the concept of saving was very important, but in most euro area, like in Greece, deposit rates are almost zero, and of course well below from inflation, while lending rates have increased considerably. How do you comment on that, and what can be done to change this situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your two questions. On the first one, I'm tempted to tell you that I don't want to deal with hypotheticals. We are in a process of fighting inflation, of bringing it.
Maybe I should just turn the fan on to turn the air around and cool it down in here, and then she'll close the window because my feet are getting cold.
That come as a complement, such as the gradual reduction of the balance sheet, as we have seen as a result of TLTRO reimbursement, as a result of non-reinvestment of APP. But I'm not going to, have a...
Hopefully you don't hear it too much. You should only hear when I'm speaking anyways.
Bubble. Suffice to say that Greece is today eligible to the PEP without any waiver. So it's...
I can already feel it changing things.
Everyone
in fact, I'm going to go and shut the window because when this is done turning the air around, it's going to be cold.
You asked me about the rates and the obvious gap between the lending rates by banks to corporates and to households and the remuneration of deposits. Our job at the ECB and at national central banks is to set the rates at which banks and other institutions finance themselves.
You think it has a better DOM than Jigsaw? I don't agree.
I hope that they transmit that properly, because
it does have a couple of interesting columns on it, but it does not do the things that I really like about Jigsaw.
Euro area countries to which solutions are brought by either the authorities or by the power of consumers themselves.
I feel like you should clear the DOM here too, by the way.
Where the ECB or the National Central Bank can actually take action.
I guess I'll do it on these ones too.
Question, Andres Stumpf of the Spanish Daily Expansión. Here.
Thank you. Madam President, you're a few days away from finishing your the first half of your mandate. I was wondering if there's anything you regret from these 4 years, and also if there's anything that makes you or have made you especially proud. And a second question, if I may. In Spain, the political parties are trying to form government, have proposed extending the new extraordinary bank taxes. And when this tax was announced, the ECB published an opinion advising against it. Should we expect another opinion, or have you got anything to say about this topic at all? Thank you.
Thank you for your personal question, and rest assured that I have no regret. Okay? I'm not going to sing it to you, but there is a famous French singer that has done that much better than I could ever do it. So no regret. You know what happened today? One of our members, after 12 years of loyal and good services, finished his term on the Governing Council, and it was his farewell Governing Council meeting. The level of warmth, of emotion, of acknowledgement that was demonstrated to him, and his response, reminded all of us around the table that sometimes we disagree. By the way, we had a unanimous decision on this occasion, just in case any of you is interested. Thank you.
I have never bought futures data directly from the CME for backtesting purposes, but I have spoken to the guys at the CME that sell the data to help understand what the options are and which data would be appropriate and so forth. When I was making the video about the volume profile, I was looking at that data. I think that it was going to be like, for the amount of data that I needed, it was going to be like $5,000 or something like that. But somebody else already had the data from a data provider of some sort, and so I used that for that video.
Again, that was it. So on the tax, maybe my Vice President.
Our assessment about bank taxes is well known. We have always said that...
Yeah, I haven't tried Quant Tower in a couple of months, so if they change something...
should not impair credit growth and should not damage the solvency of...
I mean, the most important thing to me is I want to be able to tell every time that it ticks up or down how many contracts had to trade for that to happen.
Lithuania, Spain, and Italy.
That's the most important
We had, different...
advanced feature to me.
And the final one, I have to say that it was...
The second most important advanced feature is the ability to recenter all of the DOMs at once. Like that.
Then the tax will be reduced. So this is the approach. So I don't know whether you know what's going to happen.
And then the third thing, and the thing that I really like Jigsaw for is, it's one click. No matter what kind of order I want to place, whether it's a limit order or a stop order, it's only one click for me to do it.
Question today goes to Klaus Reiner-Kisch of ARD Television. Klaus Reiner.
If we're in a meta order, this is the time. It's a good observation.
Thank you very much for taking my questions, Mrs. President. Some people speculate that...
And we are moving up.
Or the peak...
I'm not sure I could say that the amount of volume and the consistency of it is indicative of a meta order, but also I would not expect a real meta order to be executed while ACB press conference is still going on.
Question you have already answered partly. Can you give
like
debate today?
A big bank or a block trading desk, I think, would wait until after the conference for that.
Of the governing council may have perhaps be a bit stronger than in the past. Is this interpretation right? Thank you.
Yeah, they have unique data points like multi-trading orders from specific. Yeah, they have the MBO data. But you have to pay a lot for the MBO data, right?
Together with colleagues who...
Well, not a lot, but it's like an extra $100 for the data.
Hours of discussions here in Athens, I can assure you that there was a general, well-shared assessment of the current situation, the judgment that we have made, and the monetary policy decision that we took, which, after 10 different hikes over the last 15 months, is for the first time a hold. So it's, sometimes inaction is action, and a decision to hold is actually meaningful and was taken by total agreement of all governors and members of the Governing Council this morning. So if any of you wanted to add to that, but I think you have either a misinterpretation or strange information from inside our discussion. We were inside the rooms, and I can assure you that it was strong. Do you want to add something, Yanis?
No, I fully agree with what you said. It was a unanimous decision.
And as to your question on peak, I'm not going to pass a judgment to say that we are at peak. We are data dependent.
If it provides an edge?
After meeting after meeting.
So I've discussed this before, and I wish I saved this study. I could go and find it again, but somebody did a study where they used MBO data and they fed it to a machine learning model, and their machine learning model performed better with the MBO data than the machine learning model without the MBO data.
Thank you very much.
So that kind of suggests that there is informational content in it, which is useful, but what that particular content is, how it's useful, how it's used, we don't understand how.
Enjoy Athens as you're here.
Oh, are they done now? We don't understand how that algorithm was using it. So it seems like it could potentially. So like that's the thing is if you. I think one of the things that I'm trying to show on this channel when it comes to the algorithmic trading side of things is algorithmic trading is very, very difficult. And the thing that you have to get good at is doing the science, coming up with an idea and testing it thoroughly and, really going through the process of developing a strategy. Okay. So if you can do that and you're going to do that with MBO data, then I think that, there could be something really valuable in there because it's rare data. Not very many people are utilizing it, so you're more likely to be able to find an edge in there. But for a discretionary trader, that you don't have any such knowledge, you don't have any such like data backing you up. You're just looking at it and trying to see something from it. That's not going to help you probably. So I don't feel like that MBO data at the current time is really very valuable to the discretionary trader, unless we have some research that suggests how to use that information. Could it possibly confirm a Saudi Arabia? I don't know. I mean, but the other issue is that I don't find that large individual orders or even just a large amount at a particular price is a very good trading signal. If anything, it kind of alerts you to situations where price is likely to become constrained. Right? So I don't know if, when I see an unusual amount there, knowing how much of it was one order, I don't know if that really actually helps me or not. Like I said, there's evidence that there's something about it that can help you. It's just, you're probably going to have to take a serious quantitative approach to figure out what that is. Okay, well... I guess I can turn my fan off here. Well, now that the ECB press conference is over, we can see the S&P 500 selling down. The treasuries have returned back up towards their highs. I'm still not quite sure what's driving these flows. So it's only 7:40, so we still have plenty of time. But I think that maybe this would be a good time for us to try and look at ATAS. Now, I didn't actually install it yet. I just downloaded it. So let me go find the file and start the download. Or I mean the installation. Imagine if the mass shooter liked your tweet saying, "Mondays, am I right?" and you were forced to be associated with the Babylon Bee and Tucker Carlson in every subsequent news story. Good grief. The Maine shooter's now deleted Twitter profile shows obsession with far-right influencer accounts, including posts from Jordan Peterson, Cat Turd, Ben Shapiro, and the Babylon Bee. Okay. Now tell us about the that transgender shooter that we had a couple of months ago. You didn't do that one with that shooter, did you? Focus, Seth. Focus. I guess we'll do latest. You think that second leg complete? It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. Probably just dropped a ton of frames there. I should have plenty of disk space. Let me just double check that. Oh yeah, we're good. We're definitely good. But just the installation. Still with me? Okay, Lucas says yes. That's another thing I need to start doing. You'll remind me is when I'm reading your guys' comments, I should really say, you know, Lucas from chat or Uzi from chat. Because if I'm ever going to make a clip out of it, nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. I don't want to buy ATAS, but they stopped by yesterday and gave us access, and I am totally open to working with any of the major platforms, so that, because, you know, I don't feel like it is like there is one platform that is truly appropriate for everybody. I feel that this is a space where specialization matters because it's so competitive. And so there's going to be platforms that are good for you. So, you know, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm really good at. I really don't think that there's anybody else out there that understands enough about software development and GUI development, you know, better to give you information that will help you understand which platform will be better for you. Okay, so it's asking me which markets I'm most interested in. And then it's asking me which analytics of the DOM. No, I just, now, you know what? I think that these are just survey questions for them. So I don't know if I need to put in my rhythmic settings or not. Let's see here. I think I do. Connect via RTrader Pro. What does aggregated codes do? I don't know. That means I have to go and this might take me a little bit. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm just gonna click skip here. Finish. Okay, so that's interesting. So this big window that I get here does appear to be just a control center. And if I create, say, a chart, it opens up in a separate window. And it appears to be using a custom C# framework because this is not your standard kind of window look. It says that I got a feed source, so I think that means that they are giving me data of some sort. I'm still just kind of chugging along here. Wow. Okay, so they put a ton of stuff on my chart. Well, I won't close that window. It seems like I think it's still loading stuff. It is. Why is it? Do you see the way it's moving? So that already is kind of annoying. It's following the past history of my mouse. There we go. Let's see. It's just like being really slow for some freaking reason. Smart dumb. All instruments. ZN. Very lovely. Favorites. Well, I don't want to close the DOM. I don't want to close the chart that they put on there by default quite yet. Okay, so if I'm getting feed source connected, ATAS sim, it may just not give me ZN data. Let's try. Yes. The demo may just not give me ZN. You move those columns around? I don't know. Well, we got to get it to it actually showing us stuff on here first. Unless that's not actually... I don't know. Okay, I'm going to close that. I'm going to close this just because it's like everything's being all slow. And I don't know if it's like actually the chart or what it is. Oh, wait. It opened up a bunch of them. Look, it opened up a bunch of them down in here. Okay. Ha. Oh my gosh, what is with these windows? That's a bad look, ATAS. Sorry. We're gonna have to figure out what that one's about. Okay, connect. Still says connecting. That's not too promising. Looks like a whole lot of distractions. Logs. It failed. I wonder why. So I'm going to try shutting down NinjaTrader for this. I'll open this up over here. Move ATAS over here so that it's not covering up our stuff while I'm trying to figure this out. Hey, Treasuries is just still kind of chilling there. Yeah, but then not connecting. Oh, that's something else. No, that's not it. Nah. Oh. I know why it is. It's because I'm trying to connect to paper trading. Da, 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 da. Okay. Okay, now with NinjaTrader closed, it's a little bit better. But you can see something funky still going on, right? Let's close this thing. That'll also do it for you. If I come in here to my task manager and I go by GPU, That's really weird. Well, it's not that the window moves on its own. It's that if I click and drag it, it's super lagged, right? It's like tracing my cursor delayed, essentially. It's better. So I wonder if I turned OBS off, if that would fix it. But let's come into settings here. Common settings. Rendering type. Wow. Okay. So I can do OpenGL, Skia, Direct2D, and or GDI. I think I want Direct2D. It says restart the application. So I will try that. No, I don't want to rate the platform yet. Thank you, though. Okay, I'm trying to open it back up again. It's not showing up quite yet. Okay, there it is. Loading views. It says it's not normal. Yeah, it's definitely not. But let's see what it does. I changed it to 2D. Let's see what that does. Let's see if that changes anything. It's still loading some stuff. Nope. Nope. I'm going to bet that it's just not playing with OBS well. So after the stream is over, we'll answer that question if I turn OBS off, if it stops doing that. But I think it's funny that you have multiple rendering types is kind of interesting. I'm guessing GDI is not going to change anything either. Video adapter, auto, that should be picking it up on its own. No. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave that one alone because I don't think there's anything I can do to fix it other than shutting down other applications. So Let's open our DOM back up again, though, now that I've got the data going. Oh, do I have the data going? Maybe I don't. Yeah, because it's not auto-connect. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now I can put this over here. It does snap with Aqua Snap, so that's good. I like that. Center. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing right away is that the update interval on this by default is a lot lower than what it is on Jigsaw, what I have it set in Jigsaw. I could change it in Jigsaw to change it to be like every 5 milliseconds, but I don't do that. I have it like 10 times a second. So you can you kind of tell that when it like shifts, you can see the numbers there change very, very quickly compared to what you see over in Jigsaw. So that's really, really interesting to me. But I have it that way because I've experienced problems in the past where in a really busy market with me pulling tons of data, I had problems with it keeping up, right? So, okay, let's see here. Scale. Oh, that's cool. So it already has that kind of... Okay, here it goes. Is that the settings? Ah, yes. Okay. So... Yes, and it is doing the current trades. So it has all of the ones that we need for sure. Price, bids, ask, bid, ask, ladder, my orders, my buy, my sells, queue, P&L. One of the things I really like in Jigsaw is that the orders column turns into my P&L column. You know? Is there a pulling, stacking one? Depth changes, I think. Yes. Although, oh, look at that. Common settings, types, both. There we go. Ooh. I like that better than the way that Jigsaw does it. Just, I don't know. It's so aesthetically pleasing. I actually probably should turn off the flash. Yeah. Turn off the flash. That's better. I really like that now. That is so cool. But it is too distracting. It is too distracting. Histogram. A histogram would be good. There you go. Okay, so now that I've got that, now I'm like, okay, what about these other ones? Q. Just aesthetic settings. Show histogram. Oh, I can change it to ticks, delta. Okay. Price. Oh, show last trade. Oh yeah, okay. Show current day. Oh yeah, I like that. You definitely want to have that one on. Okay. Bids. I don't think I really want to change anything about that, but okay. Notes. So what else do we get? Histogram profile, which I already have on there, right? Trades. Oh, what is just trades? Interesting. So this seems like it's more like a cumulative, how much is traded there that will only count like the last 5 minutes or whatever you set on it. That's kind of cool. I like that. I don't need it though. Get rid of that. Close. Okay, so the DOM is totally okay. So now, okay, so I'm on demo here. Let's see how intuitive it is to use. If I just bid here, okay, enable one tick trading mode.
Order placed.
Cool. Don't necessarily want
Order canceled.
it to say that every time, but okay.
Order placed. Order canceled.
What about this right here?
Order placed.
Stop.
Order
Okay.
canceled.
So it does do it the way that Jigsaw does. Now this center thing. I wonder if we come over here, add another smart DOM, make it ES. Okay, so when I click center, it centers all of them. In Jigsaw, the way that it works is if I just click it once, it only centers that one, and if I right click it, it centers all of them. Seems like this one is just always centers all of them. So that's curious. I do kind of like how they got the buttons and stuff around there. They were able to fit that in. Although I very much prefer having this separate control over here that Jigsaw has. Oh, now that's interesting. Did you see that? So, when it moved too far and the DOM is like resetting, instead of like instantly snapping to a new spot, it kind of like slowly scrolled. Let's see if it'll do it again here, because they are like outside of our view now. I don't know how far it has to go. Oh, okay, so I didn't even go through all the settings because here's common settings. Simple order, one-click mode, which is probably what we want. Just close that, so you definitely want that. Customizable update frequency. Ah, so can you tell if you uncheck that, will the application just handle it? Oh, you say it's time-based. Interesting. Okay, well, I say I would give the DOM a pass for sure. One thing I don't see that's not clear is like if I want to clear the inside columns, for instance. If I want to clear the bid and ask trades, it seems like that these columns like disappear after, or I don't know, there's like nothing for me to grab onto. There needs to be a spot up here at the top for me to be able to grab onto it. Press the X. Oh, I see. Aha. Okay. So if I click that, that would reset the volume profile. Probably don't want to do that one. Okay. What else? Is there anything else on there? No, I think that about covers it. Do you have like volumes? That was another thing would be like, does it have volume stop orders? That's something that Jigsaw has set up that I really, that does a pretty good edge. Oh, I see. It says auto center in 2, 1, and now it's going to do it. Oh, that time it did it instantly. I don't know about that. Okay, well, whatever. So now let's come and try a chart. Woo! Oh, they give me so many pretty things. Oh, now that's interesting. So when I zoom in on it, it automatically goes into a footprint chart for me. That's cool. Okay, but what we need, let's see here. What should be the first thing? Indicators is cumulative delta volume, probably. Mode candles. I don't know what use scale is about. Okay. Okay, and this does pretty accurately show us what's been going on. I want to do a loaded 1 days, 4 day, 1 minute chart, I think is what I want here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, so the first thing is that, and the reason why I chose ZN is because when you do a 1 minute chart with ZN, you often get these little like candles, or sorry, these dojis. So what does it look like? It just looks like a doji, but that's off. That's why I like to, let's see here. Can I change the candle type? In this window, one lot only. Okay, so there's bars. Transparent candles. Line chart. Clusters. I'm guessing clusters is just, yeah. Area. Hidden. Oh, that's cool that you have a hidden. But you need to you need to have a box. So what the box would do is it would just have a box around the high and the low. Probably not a whole lot of people use it, so it's not like, but that's what I like to use for the treasury charts at least. Also, can I change the scale here of this? Use scale. Well, that didn't seem to do anything. So something that I find key to do here with cumulative delta is like, I want to see, okay, we started at negative 2000 and now we're at 16. So like that was an 18K change in cumulative delta, right? So what I would really like is to have the numbers on the side here a little bit more. How do I change that? Basically, I need more than just the high and the low listed on the side there. It makes it easier for me to measure, essentially. Oh, does this have a, let's see. Yeah, depth market depth. I don't need that. You could draw the lines. You're saying like I can say horizontal line. Yeah. That's pretty easy. 17K change. Okay. Now this value area low and value area high, I doubt that that's actually what the volume was at those points, right? So I don't like that. Let's see. Can we change that? Let's go over to these settings, visual settings. grid, access, candles, bars, line chart, session time, other volume. Double click. Oh, I see. Double click on the market profile. Left, right color, highlight color. Okay. It seems like that I can't tell how much volume was actually traded there, even if I make it transparent. To be honest, though, on this kind of a chart, I don't even include that. Don't even include that. This is good. Scrolling is good. Resizing is good. It still doesn't explain why the Windows resizing around is so slow. Hey, actually, you know what? One other thing that I should try here is Aquasnap. If I exit Aquasnap, does that change it? No. Still doesn't do it. I don't know. Press on the DOM trader on the bottom. Woo! Oh, okay. Now you get the. Oh, I'd have to go back to OpenGL. Yeah. Okay. Indicators. COT. Oh, that's cool. Order flow. Oh, let's make this big. Big trades. CVD Pro, huh? What is that? Cumulative delta volume. Oh, I already have that. Cumulative Delta Pro multi. Oh. Enabled minimum volume, maximum volume. I see. So this multi one. Oh geez, I didn't mean to do that. I thought I had that feature of Aquasnap turned off. There's a feature in Aquasnap where if you shake the window, it will like minimize everything else. Yeah, anyways. Okay, so that Pro seems like what it's doing is it's saying, Uzi would like that one, right? It's saying, here's what the cumulative delta for these ones are, and there's what cumulative delta for these, you know. I'd have to change all of those, but basically I could say here's the cumulative delta for everybody, and here's the cumulative delta for just the big guys. DOM levels. That's like a heat map. Open interest analyzer? What? That seems like something that doesn't work on this chart, at least. It's probably like a higher level thing, because you don't get like minute by minute open interest, unfortunately. Speed of the tape patterns, huh? Okay, interesting. Other. Technical indicators. Cumulative ADR, alligator. ATR. Daily levels, sure. Fair value gap. Oh man, you've got, I tell you what, in terms of like the indicators to try and catch all of the retail chart traders, you've definitely got the ones that they like. The alligator and the fair value gap and stuff like that. That's definitely things that people are talking about. You have a Hearst exponent. That's interesting. That's not something that's typically included. Kurtosis, that's interesting. Murray math. How did you get TD sequential? You be careful with that one. They sue people over that one. Oh, you can add a watermark. I love it. Da-da-da. And then third-party ones show up down there. I like that. That's something that annoys me in NinjaTrader, is like if you add an indicator and you can't find it. Why do treasuries move higher on these economic numbers? Yeah, treasuries are very economically sensitive because essentially how the economy is doing will affect what the Federal Reserve is going to do. And so especially those short-dated treasuries are very sensitive to economic news. So I was looking for like R squared as one that I really like. So if you're looking for ones to add, yeah. Oh, open interest tick data is only for crypto and MOEX exchanges. Gotcha. Okay, so in NinjaTrader they have an indicator called R squared, which is basically gets the R squared of the data series on itself, essentially, to tell you how auto-correlated it is. And that's a really good indicator. Because a lot of what I'm doing is essentially just saying, is there a big change in cumulative delta? How auto-correlated is it? And when I'm seeing really strongly auto-correlated volume, that's when I say there's large meta orders. It's just going to keep going and I trade on it. The other one, though, that I need is a spread. But there's not a indicator called spread. But perhaps there's something like a ratio. No. Comparison, correlation, no. Oh, I meant in this direction, in this hawk. No, I don't understand it either, all in risk. It's honestly... Synthetic spread charts? How do I get a synthetic spread? Oh, synthetic VIX. I like that. Ooh, and it even shows it for the treasury here. I love it. Yeah, the way that it moved after the economic numbers doesn't make much sense to me at all. And I wonder if it was people running the ECB. But I also don't understand why the ECB would be, dovish, I guess you could say. Doesn't completely make sense. That's why I kind of gave up. I was like, well, I don't think I'm touching this today because I do not understand why it's doing what it's doing. Okay, but that also means that I probably don't have like winner crosshair, global crosshair, templates, drawing, zoom mode, the quantity for your trading. Yeah, like the ability to add multiple data series to a chart or things like that. That's a big, managing the multi-instruments, that's pretty difficult thing to do, right? But there's generally like 5 things that I'm going to be looking at that I think are necessary parts of an effective strategy. Number 1 is predictors of order flow. So that means breaking news. That means positioning information, flow reports, those sorts of things, right? Next one is going to be order flow. And you have one of the best array of order flow indicators. You have more stuff than I would use, right? Next would be volatility. So volatility, you can use like ATR. You have that synthetic fix. That's pretty good, right? Next one is correlations, right? And I don't see anything about correlations. Knowing what are the different instruments that are correlated to my instrument and what are they doing right now is really important. And especially in the treasuries, being able to see what the treasuries are doing relative to each other and seeing how the yield curve is changing is an important thing to factor into your trading. Because if I'm trading the 10-year and we're moving up like we are right now, we're moving up and we're steepening. Okay, that means the 5-year is going to move more than the 10 and the 30. So if I buy the 10, yeah, we'll probably still make money as they push up, but I'm not going to make as much money. And that also means that I have to factor that into what I'm seeing in the order flows. I'm more likely to see selling over here in the 30 and buying over here in the 5 because of the direction that the spread is going. So if you adding in spreads and stuff, that would be a really good win. Says, yeah, we're working on those at the moment. Good. And then the last one would be the risk management side of things, right? Which I don't know. There probably are some indicators in here about like your position, perhaps. But that's also something for the DOM. I don't know if the DOM does is like in Jigsaw here. Let me just, we try it. I guess I'll try it. I'm just gonna buy in here. Okay, so it doesn't really, let me change the columns here. And P&L. Okay, P&L type price, money, close. Okay, yeah, so it tells me how much I'm making or losing. Oh, can you rearrange the columns? There almost certainly is a way. Maybe if you go into design mode. What's design mode? Ew. Okay. So let me just bail on that.
Order filled.
Okay. When I do it in Jigsaw, so I'm on a sim account here. Actually, let me change it to my experimental sim account. Okay. So when I put an order in here in Jigsaw, right? Okay, here it tells me where I am in the queue in this column over here, right? But then if I enter into a position, that column changes and it shows me my total P&L. And you see how but even where I'm winning, it's blue, and where I'm losing, it's red. That's super, super, super useful. But then another thing that they do is I can have it tell me my average. So this blue line will always be where my average position is. So if I bought another contract at like 29.5, maybe it'll tick down and it'll give me an opportunity to show you. If I bought another contract at 29.5, then it will move my average down to 105.30. And all of these numbers here will change to reflect how much money I'm making. Right? But then the other thing is if I have like 2 contracts on and then I take 1 contract off, it factors that into what my P&L is. So I can see what my theoretical break-even point is. That way I can say, okay, I bought, 2 contracts, took 1 contract profit at 4 ticks. That means in order for this trade to become a loser, it actually has to move 4 ticks against me, and that gives me more risk. I can take on more risk, essentially, right? That's something that is a feature in Jigsaw that I find really, really useful. Oh, up, down in selector of column. Oh, I see. You're saying in here I need to move that all the way over to here. Gotcha. Oh, you guys want a free ATAS? I think where I would, so here's the thing. For me, the main thing is, just being able to trade on the DOM. And then what kind of stuff are they going to come out in the future with, right? Like the thing that Jigsaw does that kind of makes them my key choice is that they continue to innovate. Like they're traders, they really understand it, and they come out with new features that, I think can give you an edge or are useful and nobody else has thought of. A lot of the things, like especially in Sierra charts, they did those because they're copying Jigsaw. Jigsaw were the ones that kind of came up with these columns in the middle, for instance, right? Jigsaw is a bit expensive, true. But beyond that, it's just executing, right? The big downside to Jigsaw is I can't program with it, right? I can program with NinjaTrader 8. So for this platform, I think that your biggest competitor here with ATAS is actually NinjaTrader 8, not Jigsaw, right? So the most useful feedback that I can probably give them is going to be from going in and trying to program something, right? See how easy it is to program with. Well, looks like that sim trade worked out well. I'll take it off at evens there. Yeah, Jigsaw is not good for charting. Well, their charts are, yeah. I mean, like their base charts are good enough, I guess you could say. Z and I don't think that they're they're definitely not as customizable. That's the big thing holding them back right now, I think. But it works well enough, and you can add cumulative delta. Honestly, for a chart, like if I can add cumulative delta to it, I may be having an issue. It says that it's still trying to load it. There you go. Do they have tick charts in Jigsaw? Oh, I think they were working on that. Was that something that they added yet? Yeah, interval type, minute, and I can change it to tick. Yeah. So that they have added that. Like honestly, the charts, what are the main things that I look at the charts? I look at whether it's moved up or down. I look at the cumulative delta. I look at the spreads. All right. Almost none of these platforms have spreads. The best option for spreads is to get NinjaTrader 8 and use my indicator package, right? Which, okay, cool. Maybe I'll try making it for ATAS. That will be a good test, is to make the basic spread chart and see if it can do it. I'm guessing since they don't have multi-instrument stuff in there that it's probably not possible, but maybe I'll just do inverse. Inverse is an easy one. But, you know, so I don't think that the jigsaw charts have to be super amazing for me to be like, okay, I can use it, right? But they don't have the spreads. If they had the spreads, I would probably switch over to only using jigsaw, right? Because, you know, I pay like $50 a month for it. I should. Quant Tower has synthetic symbol. I think so. In fact, that might have been... I think that might have been something I suggested when I was looking at Quant Tower, and maybe they added that. I'm really surprised, by the way, at whenever this comes up, how many of you actually are using Quant Tower now. I mean, when I first saw... So, I didn't talk to Quant Tower specifically. The reason I had gotten into Quant Tower was, you know, I talked to the guy at Optimus Futures occasionally. I haven't talked to him in a while. Maybe I should send him a line. Really like him. But, you know, and so he said, hey, try this new... Because they were the first ones to come in and say, hey, we'll make like a customized version just for your broker, you know? And so I tried their Optimus Flow version of Quant Tower. You know, 5 years going parabolic. Well, it's definitely getting pretty crazy here, isn't it? So let's close this little chart we were messing with and look at this ATAS chart. And we can see that there is pretty steady. So when we were talking earlier with Octavius, he was saying, I think that there's a meta order buy out there. And that was when we were like right here, right? And I said, well, I don't know if we can really say that, just because typically you don't want to execute a large meta order during a major news event, because liquidity is going to be more flighty and you won't get as much filth, right? But it looks to me like they waited until quite a ways after. Oh, by the way, the timestamps on here are messed up. I need to change that so that it uses my time zone. That's probably a more general setting. Anyways, but after that, there has been what appears to be another leg of meta order coming through here. And it's incredibly aggressive. I mean, I had bought back here at 30, right? And I took like the 4 ticks and it's gone like twice that far. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Yeah, they came to Mondays. I really do not understand why they did what they did. The buying after the news was really weird to me. Especially since it was like yesterday they sold so aggressively and now today they're buying so aggressively, and it's like, what has changed today that's creating that buying flow? And I just don't see it. I just don't know what it is. I'm sure that there is a good explanation, but I am not in the know today. I tell you, so some of the things I really like that the way they have the little things to draw on here with are just on the side, and you can click them and, you know, do stuff really easily. I really like that. The drawing is great. Wouldn't it be nice if your DOM could recognize meta order and alert you to it? Well, I've kind of been hinting, but if I'm going to be more explicit, basically what you do is you take R squared and you put R squared on price and you put R squared on cumulative delta, and then when you say if R squared is above 0.8 in both price and cumulative delta, and both price and cumulative delta are highly correlated, then there's a strong probability of a large meta order. And that's basically how I can quantify it. But there's lots of other rules about it. Like with this news is like I kind of know how they're going to time them, and I can watch what's going on the DOM on a tick by tick basis. How do you put R squared on cumulative? Well, since I have NinjaTrader closed right now, I can't really show you, can I? For any indicator in NinjaTrader, there's a setting called data series, and you can basically say, instead of doing it on my price data series, do it on another indicator and then select your cumulative delta. About some, well, we have to, I think the ATAS guy is probably still there. Maybe he has a if we close the platform down here, let's see here. Close the application down. They have good sounds too. Open it back up. I'm going to show my face here in case it does something weird. And I don't, and I have to, I want to show any sensitive information. Looks like it's good. Takes a little while for it to start up, I feel. Is there a quick start button? Here we have to connect this. I probably can turn that on to auto connect now. Okay, cool. All right, so now we should be able to use their DOM trader thing, right? Da, da, da. Can Jeff Bezos save them? I don't know. There's been a lot of pretty bad, like Google the other day, that they dropped like what, 10%? That was wild, man. Mode liquidity map, order flow ellipses. Okay. Blocks. Ah. Is that just showing me the trades? Only DOM. Liquidity map. Smoothing mode. None. Manual. Auto. Oh, okay, cool. Animation speed. Well, that doesn't seem to be changing anything, the animation speed. So I feel like that's going too fast. Log scale. That's cool. That's a really good, or you when I'm talking, we talk innovation. Good call. That's good innovation. I have to zoom out here. Okay, hold on a second. Zoom out on this. Zoom out on, how do I zoom? How do I zoom out? Liquidity map enable. Okay, I don't know what that means. Looks like it'll show me my trades on here. You have to zoom the price axis like this. Animation speed still doesn't seem to do anything. So for me, I really don't find these heat maps too useful. I feel that people like them because they're flashy and cool looking and they look complicated. But ultimately, I think that you get more real-time information from watching the DOM. So where the charts are going to be useful is always in looking at the past, right? So having a chart like this that I can only see like the last 5 seconds isn't really very useful, right? I need this to be able to zoom out and show me a much higher level view of what the liquidity was doing around this move, essentially. And that's the other thing that really drives me crazy about these things is that, so much of the liquidity always pulls, right? So when we're looking at here and there's like, 2600 at O2, if O2 becomes the best offer, you can pretty safely bet that most of the time at least half of that liquidity will disappear, because those orders are guys that are just trying to save their spot in line. And if they don't actually want to execute, then those orders will just immediately cancel as soon as there's any chance of them being executed. So then when you're watching it in the heat map, you'll always see that, it decreased that a little bit. And then but how much actually traded? What actually was the latent liquidity in that area at that time, right? Like the heat map just doesn't always do a good job of showing that. And that's why I just watched it all. But I feel like the platform has... It seems like a pretty solid platform, to be honest with you. What can you do to get an edge to get more people to use this particular platform? Is you've got to Well, I guess you've kind of focused in on the order flow, right? But you kind of have the order flow and there's charting, right? So I don't think that the competition is Jigsaw. I think the competition is NinjaTrader. Basically, you want to make it so that if I was going to try and make my own order flow indicators, or I was going to make an automated strategy using order flow, that there would be advantages to me using ATAS as opposed to NinjaTrader. By the way, does it have? So let's come back here. Chart, watch list, DOM, smart tape, bid ask tape, all prices, positions, strategies. Oh, it's a tab. So it seems like it has a way of doing strategies, but I don't see it. I have to go into that. Following manager. That's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of following, though. Akshay, where have you been? I've been concerned about you for like 6 months. Comes in right as I'm about to go, too. I can't even tell you how often it's like, maybe Akshay would be able to answer that question and he's not here. Oh, I was on a consulting gig with Cap. Wow. That's cool. It's been rough market, man. I did really, really well, and then last month has just been like, kill me. Don't kill me, but sometimes I've been embarrassed. I got a good winner yesterday, but their risk department, man, is a joke. Jeez, don't tell me that. At least the one in the UK is. That's interesting. We're in interesting times, man. And I think they're only going to get more interesting, right? I think they're only going to get more interesting. I didn't say anything. So I'm going to close this down for now. Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to close it down because we're going to close the... No. I'll leave it open because we are getting about to end the stream. And then I'll be able to see if closing the stream down allows me to do that. You can do market replay with level 2 data too. That's good, but... So that was like going into what I was kind of talking about yesterday, is that like the options that I have for me to control my data and so forth aren't very clear in NinjaTrader, right? So I don't know if you have a backtester yet, but basically, if there was a platform that, and here's the three things. Here's the three things on the algo side that I don't think there is a good solution for in the industry and like integrated in a platform at least, right? One is backtesting order flow. So like in NinjaTrader, they're kind of like, well, we'll let you do it, but it's not really supported. And because they're like using tick replay to reconstruct things like cumulative deltas, for instance, sometimes the difference between that and live can be enough to screw the algorithm up, right? Number two is that they don't save your historical your market depth data, right? So I'm literally every update and market depth or trade that I get, I'm just saving into a file so that I can later go and backtest on it. So if I could do a backtest, not like a market replay on an individual day or something like that, but like just a historical backtest that incorporates market depth from data that I've recorded and it was built into the platform, that would be amazing, right? That would be a total game changer. And then the third one is Python. If you can find a way to integrate it with Python. So because you're in C#, it's kind of, I don't know, you kind of have to do some hacky things. But if it's your platform, you might be able to do things like create a Python attachment sort of a thing and a little Python library so that you could, even though it's a C# platform, you could still make things in Python. Because once you're in Python, then you have all of the really crazy machine learning libraries that are just so easy to use, right? So those three things within the algorithmic trading arena are things that you can certainly do those things on your own, but I don't know that there's a platform that do those things. And that would be a game changer. And again, where I feel like ATAS's kind of specialty is order flow, right? Well, then being able to backtest the order flow would be like really key, right? Hard stream for me today. I've written down in real time. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that it was useful to you. I should probably get going. If you pop into Discord, because number one, I have like a special little name color so that for people that are platforms or brokers. But then I can tell you whether or not stopping OBS kind of fixed the window, right? Anyways, and we'll put that in the title. We'll put in the title playing with ATAS. Like I said, I don't envy you. Like, sometimes I want to make my own platform, but then I'm like, yep, but it would probably take me $2 million and it's super competitive and yeah. Anyways, time for me to get going, but I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.